March today? Yes, I somehow thought you might have been. My name is the Reverend Dr. Simon Woodman, and it's my immense privilege to be the minister of this beautiful building in which you're currently seated. Let me just tell you one or two things about the church here. I won't take too long because there are far more interesting and important speakers than I to come shortly. But the first thing you need to know about this building is where are the toilets. So they're on either side at the front, and there's an accessible toilet in the foyer over there. So hopefully that means that's all okay. And if we do need to evacuate for any reason, please go back out the way you came in, and the fire doors are clearly signposted. This is a Baptist church. I don't know how many of you know what it means to be a Baptist, but the Baptists were a breakaway from the Church of England in the early 17th century, about 1611, 1612. And the thing that they were falling out about at that point was freedom of religion, because at that point it was illegal to be anything other than Church of England. And there were these groups of people who said, no, we believe that you should be free to choose your own religion. And so one of those groups was what became the Baptists. And the founder of the Baptists, a chap called Thomas Helwys, wrote to King James, and he appealed for freedom of religion for himself and those like him, but also for Muslims and Jews and atheists, because the conviction at the heart of the Baptist understanding of what it is to be the church is that freedom for one person has to be freedom for everybody in order for it to be meaningful. And I think that tradition of freedom for the Jew must also be freedom for the Muslim, must also be freedom for the Christian, must also be freedom for the atheist. I think that sets a trajectory which brings us to holding this meeting here in this building today. But it also frames the thought of somebody who preached in this church in 1961, that famous Baptist minister, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who of course famously said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It's this same point that everybody must be free, everybody must experience justice in order for it to be meaningful for anyone. And again, that brings us to where we are today. So welcome. We're going to have two speeches in a few moments, and then there will be a Q&A. Now, because we're with it, and it's the 21st century, and we all have smartphones and Wi-Fi, we've handed you all a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper is a QR code, and if you click on the QR code, you all know how to do that, I'm sure. And if you don't, ask your neighbour or somebody younger than you, and they'll tell you how to do it. You can go on your phone and you can submit your questions. When you submit your question, please say your name and who the question is for. It will either be for the ambassador or it will be for the Reverend Munther Isaac. But now it's my absolute delight to hand over the stage to His Excellency Dr. Husam Zomlot, the Palestinian ambassador.
Thank you. What a pleasure and honor to be here this evening. Friends and ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I really only wish it could have been in better times. Nevertheless, I am pleased that you are here this evening to join me in welcoming our dear guest, friend, our honorable guest tonight, the very Reverend Dr. Munther Ishaq, my very dear friend, the Reverend Pastor of the Lutheran Church in Bethlehem. Reverend Ishaq is one of the pillars of the Palestinian Christian community and a leading light for many of us. So we are honored to have him here with us this evening. Friends, we wanted to be here at this historical venue, not only because it is fitting for our guest. Not sure how Baptists and Lutherans get along. Do you? But because of the esteemed history of the Bloomsbury Baptist Church, Dr. Simon Woodman, for over 170 years, this church has played an important role in serving its community and in supporting all those that are marginalized, dispossessed, and fighting for their rights. As early as 1850s, this church took a strong stand against those that practiced or condoned slavery. It provided essential public services for women and children from families facing economic hardship. Please join me in thanking Reverend Dr. Simon Woodman and this church. Also join me in thanking the brilliant, energetic, inspiring team of the Palestine Mission to the UK who have organized tonight's evening. And in 1961, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King delivered his first London sermon from this very venue, from this very podium. Dr. King is, of course, known for his leadership and tireless commitment to the civil rights movements in the US. His hope, fueled by an unwavering conviction for justice and equality. If you can't fly, then run, he said. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And though we are living in the darkest of days, though we are witnessing an ongoing genocide against our people, the Palestinian people, and though Israel is entering its endgame with clear intention to push people out of Gaza, out of Palestine, in a bloodier repeat of the 1948 Nakba. It is King's words of hope that should nurture us all. We will fly, we will run, or crawl, so long as it takes to liberate Palestine and liberate our people. We will do so until justice is served, until we, the Palestinian people, are treated equally to all other peoples in this world, until we can raise our children in safety and peace, and with freedom and dignity, without an occupation choking our existence. So, my friends, we are in the 5th month of the bombardment of Gaza. 100,000 people have been killed. Innocent people have been killed, maimed or injured, trapped under the rubble or missing, the vast majority of whom are children and women. What is happening is truly unconscionable, unimaginable. It is ethnic cleansing, mass expulsion, mass starvation, mass disease. It is genocide. That is, and that in this day and age, until this day and age, this level of carnage could be normalized, and the international community locks on. Failing to act and doing nothing to stop the bloodshed, they say that the future is our children. Israel killed 12,000 Palestinian children in less than 130 days. Unprecedented. That's more than any comparable period in modern history. More than 17,000 Palestinian children are orphaned, and parents resorting to writing the names of their children on their bodies so they can be identified if and when they are killed. Indeed, it was not an overt statement when the UN Secretary General said at the outset of this that Gaza has turned into a graveyard of children. So, my friends, the scale of the killings and destruction is unprecedented in modern history, in every sense, in every count. Israel has killed most doctors and medical staff, most UN aid workers, most journalists in human history. And now we are seeing Israel preparing for another push into Rafah, the city of my birth. I'm a very proud Rafahian, where conditions are already horrific. 1.4 million sleeping in makeshift tents with nowhere left to go, in the cold, with no water, no food, no medicine, and still being bombed. And the response of the international community? Words, statements of sympathy, empty, hollow words. And those words are not enough. Words are not enough. We are past the time for mere condemnations and concern. It is time for states to act in accordance with their own laws, their own obligations, their own responsibilities, in accordance with responsibilities under international law and obligations under international law. If not for any moral convictions they may have. South Africa has shown how states should behave. And please give an applaud to South Africa, because they did. Utilizing the tools and instruments of the international rules-based order, a system that we all agreed on after the horrors of the Second World War. All of us said never again, but the never again was meant for all of us, not some of us, not the few, but every one of us. Never again, we said, and yet here we are again. How much more blood must be shed before these communities and these countries and these governments take any action and hold Israel to account? Last month, the highest court in the world, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, officially put Israel on trial for genocide. We should not have a discussion after that. This is the highest court, saying that there is substantial evidence, plausible evidence, of Israel committing the crime of all crimes, which is genocide. And now Israel is officially on trial for genocide. It is the responsibility of every state, including the United Kingdom, to support the ICJ in investigating and holding Israel to account for its crimes. It is the responsibility of every state to stop arming Israel and implicating themselves in Israel's genocidal campaign. This is the law, by the way. And the ruling of the ICJ is very clear. It does implicate third parties that are complicit. And we will pursue this. It is the responsibility of every state to listen and take note when over 70% of its citizens, the British people, are calling for a ceasefire from the second week of the aggression. More than 70%. So not only it's anti-domestic law, not only it's anti-international law, it's anti-democratic. So friends, earlier today we attended a peaceful rally for Palestine and for peace. It is heartening to see that while the leaders are failing us, the people and the public conscience, our collective humanity, is so alive and kicking and outpouring and inspiring. In these challenging times, it is important that we hold on to this solidarity and continue to give each other hope for a better future and a better world. And with that, allow me to welcome my very dear friend, Reverend Dr. Munther Ishaq.
Your Excellency, أخوي صديقي have been committed over the last 75 years. End quote. We had to speak as Palestinian Christians. We couldn't be silent, even if it meant criticizing our own siblings. And today I say the same about the politicians and opinion makers who are still silent, hesitant, and shy in their positions and statements. The empty words, the diplomatic words, the toothless words, the words of concern and sympathy that mean nothing to us. Gaza is indeed a human cry. It's a moral cry. This is not about politics. If you are not shaken to the core and moved to act by the brutal killing of more than 12,000 children, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing we can do to restore you. So I believe the world will not recover and our humanity will not recover. History will not and should not be merciful towards those who are complicit. And this is why I said we will not accept apologies after the genocide. The names of those complicit in the genocide are stained in history books. Dear friends, I come to Bethlehem with a simple message. We need an immediate ceasefire. This is a moral obligation. And if we say it with conviction, we must work for it. Yes, we are tired of empty words. We're tired of promises that are never kept. But this should be the message right now, an immediate ceasefire. Because every day we delay delivering this message, hundreds of people will be killed. We cannot stop demanding this. And I know it's been 130 days. But we can't give up, and we can't give in to despair. We owe it to the people of Gaza. We owe it to their heroic sacrifices that we don't stop. We can't stop. We should not stop. We owe it to humanity because we can't allow ourselves to grow numb over a genocide. We cannot normalize a genocide. We can't stop. We must continue demonstrating. We must continue talking. We must continue praying until this genocide is over. And beyond that, we need an end to the Israeli occupation and oppression. We need an end to apartheid. We need justice and equality. I still hold fast to the hope, and it's really hard, to live in a land where people are equal regardless of their national, religious, or ethnic identity. I will never give up this dream. Never in my life have I been more proud and honored to be a Palestinian, more than the last 130 days. And it's difficult. I know it's painful. I'm proud of our resilience, of our sumud. I am proud of our solidarity with one another, with our unity. And when I say that we Palestinians will be okay and that we will recover, I say it because I know my people. I know who we are. Palestine is our homeland. We are deeply rooted there. And even for those Palestinians exiled around the world, Palestine still lives in them. Wherever I go, I see this. We will never relinquish our God-given rights of living in dignity and justice in our land. And we will not be satisfied until righteousness is achieved. And probably our biggest thing working for us as Palestinians is the justice of our cause. Our sumud, our steadfastness is anchored in our just cause and our historical rootedness in the land of our ancestors. And we are also encouraged and empowered by the costly solidarity and support of many around the world, challenging the dominance of ideologies of power and supremacy. And I saw it today in London. And even though my faith in God was shaken these last days, having seen way too many dead children and people. I continued to call and say that we cannot, under any circumstance, lose our faith in God. They can take everything from us, but not our faith in God. And particularly, our faith in His just character, the justice of God. The psalm says, "For justice will prevail, and all the morally upright will be vindicated." We should never let go of this promise. Justice will prevail. So we refuse to give in. And I would like, in conclusion, to quote from a document, Kairos, Palestine, written by Palestinian Christians in 2009, but the words are so true today. "In the absence of all hope, we cry out our cry of hope. We believe in God, good and just. We believe that God's goodness will finally triumph over the evil of hate and of death that still persist in our land. We will see here a new land and a new human being capable of rising up in the spirit to love each one of his or her brothers and sisters." End quote. We believe in God, good and just. So today I say, let justice roll, let freedom roll, let truth roll. And our cry remains, end this genocide now. May this come true today. Thank you.
Friends, you've done the sensible thing after an hour of sitting in our pews and stood up, and you did it for all the right reasons. I'm just going to give you permission to stand up, shake around a little bit. You've got an opportunity to send a question. Please use the QR code, and in a moment we'll be having some Q&A, and we'll be hearing in a slightly less formal manner. But just take a moment, and if anybody needs to pop to the facilities, they're available.